gather around the table once again for more Dungeons and Drakfus. And today, like yesterday, we're going to be tackling another instance in the Scarlet Monastery, specifically Scarlet Monastery. So let's go ahead and get things started. Obviously, we're going to need to make our way through some of these guys. There we go. Okay, so before we step on in there, actually no, let's just step on in because I really don't want to get attacked out here, and there are Scarlets that will aggro me. Because I'm filthy horde. So here, Scarlet Monastery. Here is the lore for it. Excuse me. Allergy season, people, it sucks. Especially after it's rained. The Crusades' fanatical leaders direct their followers from the Scarlet Cathedral at the heart of the monastery grounds. This heavily guarded location functions as the Order's headquarters, and some of the most zealous and intolerant Crusaders roam the halls of this once hallowed place. So with that, we also have the Hooded Crusader returning.
What now? Good to see you again, Drakfu. For a moment, I was worried that you wouldn't come. Let's finish this, shall we? The Scarlet Crusade has proven that it's not going to put an end to itself.
Blades of the Anointed.
The problem with the Scarlet Crusade is that they keep coming back, even after death. Behind those resurrections is High Inquisitor Whitemane. With her death, so goes the Crusade. To give her the final rest, we need two swords of legend, each with a lost but storied history. Luckily for me, us, these two Blades of the Anointed are at rest here within the monastery. Find them, and once you've killed Whitemane, plunge the blades into her corpse and make the death permanent.
Alright. With that being said, let's go ahead and get things started, and obviously we were starting off in the Scarlet Graveyard. Oh no, we have to destroy the corpses, otherwise they will keep resurrecting, but we don't really care. We're a little overpowered for this place anyway. Hi, I'm Drakfu. I just gotta take care of you guys. So, fun fact also, if you are participating in the world event All Hallows End, you actually do come to the Scarlet Graveyard here as well to take on the Headless Horseman, who is actually another Scarlet Crusader that has quite a storied history. Maybe I'll link in the description below the novel video for the story of the Headless Horseman. It's actually very interesting. And so we actually have our first boss here, which is Thalnos, the Soul Render. Originally, Blood Mage Thalnos in the original Scarlet Graveyard. He has since made his place in Hearthstone. But let's go ahead and get into the lore for Thalnos. Thalnos earned a repute in the Scarlet Crusade for the brutal torture methods he used to purify new recruits. Ultimately, the sadistic mage contracted the plague of undeath and arose as a fearsome skeletal being. The vengeful Thalnos now prowls the monastery's graveyard, commanding apparitions and zombified creatures to attack anyone who trespasses on his unholy domain. Alright, so let's go and take care of him. Alright, Thalnos. That was not hard, strangely enough. And here's actually one of the Blades of the Anointed that we need. Let's just go ahead and grab that. And like I said before in Scarlet Halls, what they did basically was they took the graveyard and the monastery and merged them together. So since the graveyard doesn't really have a whole lot to it, all we do is walk through this hallway and we are technically into the monastery grounds. It's because here's where the chapel gardens began. All right. But now we're facing the Scarlet Elite, because they're all gathered up here. Whee! Now, obviously, I'm not going to be killing everything in these grounds, but we're going to kill a good portion of them. And actually, there is my second Blade of the Anointed. So, Blades of the Anointed. With one blade already in your possession, you move to take the other. An inscription on the statue behind the word reads, "The Hand of Providence." Alright, so the second anointed blade floats just in front of the wet statue. Steam rises from the sword. You get the uncanny feeling that the Hand of Providence has been waiting for you. Alright, unto dust thou shalt return. You take the second anointed blade in hand and feel the power of both swords course through you. There is but one thing left to do. As the mysterious hooded woman explained, to put an end to the Scarlet Crusade, you must thrust both blades into the corpse of High Inquisitor Whitemane. So that's what you gotta do. Can't really avoid it. Oh, that's cute. You guys want to fight me. That's just so cute. So, now here's an interesting aspect of this. Remember that this got rebooted in Mists of Pandaria. And one of the things I found interesting about that was this was like the first hint. This instance back in World of Warcraft and in Burning Crusade days, where we got a hint of a monk class. Because specifically, there were Scarlet monks throughout the monastery. And I find it interesting that they brought all of that concept back for a boss in Brother Korloff. Since a lot of people after this, I still remember friends who screamed to high heaven and is like, there are Scarlet monks! There's gonna be monks in this game! And, well, now there are. I'm playing one! So, Brother Korloff, before we pull him, let's actually go into his lore. Brother Korloff first learned of the monks' deadly arts from Pandaran ambassadors as they journeyed through Azeroth. When the Crusader demonstrated this martial style to his superiors, they unanimously ordered Korloff to train an entire generation of initiates in the ways of the monk. Alright, so with that being said, let's go ahead and take care of some of his apprentices. I'm sure he'll be happy about that. Hi, buddy! I am your superior. There we go. And into the Scarlet Monastery we go.
Come so far, only to perish here. I'll honor you with clean deaths. Inventory is full.
Now, we're already at an inventory cap, but that's okay.
I can't carry anymore.
We're going to grab the greens at the very least.
Inventory
Nope.
is full.
And we're just going to clear out the monastery because there's actually another interesting Easter egg at the end. Another fun fact is you notice that there's Commander Durand. Originally, in the original monastery, I don't think it was Darien, but it was his brother, Renault Mograine, that you faced off with in here, along with High Inquisitor Whitemane.
Inventory is full.
It's not the case anymore, but I always found that an interesting lore detail, especially when you saw Darien Mograine show up in Wrath of the Lich King. That was such a prominent character, too. Well, now that we've taken care of that, here's another thing I want to show off. So, oh, there's a suspicious torch. And a corpse. Believe it or not, this actually used to be a hidden boss in Scarlet Monastery. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but yes, this guy was actually a boss and encouraged to take him down because obviously he's another bit of gear that you can get. But I found it interesting they didn't bring him back for the new version. Instead, they just left his corpse there. Because it's an interesting concept. He is an undead, but I believe in the original concept or the original monastery, he was praised as like an interrogator or something like that. So you don't want to be able to have that shame in the Scarlet Crusade. So it's onward to Commander Durand. Or actually, it's going to be High Inquisitor Whitemane. So let's go ahead and do the fight, and then we'll go into the lore there. All right, so Commander Durand.
My legend begins. My legend.
But my legend. And there's Whitemane.
Pay for this treachery.
I'm sure I will. Oh, he.
Arise,
My champion.
At your side, my lady. There we go. And she still says Mograine. I always found that interesting that they kept that in. I'm going to go ahead and loot her.
Inventory is full.
Of course, it's full. Shortcut list. We don't need that. And we also don't need that other shortcut list. So we'll just go ahead and grab these. And we're going to go ahead and get the quest out of the way first, and then we'll get into the lore of Whitemane. Because the corpse will eventually fade, and then you have to do it again. So now that we've done that, oh, the Hooded Crusader is happy about that.
It is done. You did it, Drakfu.
The Hooded Crusader gazes down upon the High Inquisitor's blade-skewered corpse.
And now, enough of this deception. Hello, my name is Lillian. You don't mind if I take those blades, do you?
The blades transform as she pulls them from Whitemane's corpse.
Yes, these will do quite nicely. They feel almost as if they were meant for me all along.
Alright, so Lillian Voss.
With Whitemane gone for good, the Scarlet Crusade is finished. It's just a matter of sweeping up the refuse. Thank you, Drakfu. Not just for myself, but for everyone opposed to mindless hatred and bigotry. And thank you for these 2 new blades, anointed anew in her blood. They should serve me well as I take the fight to Sholomance and deal with Dark Master Gandling. I bid you adieu for now.
So, there's a reason that I didn't mention this little aspect, and then we'll get into the High Inquisitor's lore. When you're questing as a young undead, you come across a young Lillian Voss, who has been trained by the Scarlet Crusade to be basically their worst nightmare on the undead. She has been trained in the ways of the monk, in the ways of magic, in the ways of the warrior, all of that, and then she died. And she was resurrected as an undead, and could not deal with it. And you help her along the process until she ultimately decides that the Scarlet Crusade, after submitting herself for re-education or whatever they wanted to do it, her father, High Priest Benedictus Voss, ordered her execution. You can naturally think she didn't take this well, and therefore began a revenge campaign against the Scarlet Crusade, and you actually help her out in this one, and thus connects it to Sholomance, where you will meet up with Lillian Voss again. That being said, that's the lore for Lillian Voss. That's the quest that you actually take on in the new Scarlet Monastery. Let's go into the lore of High Inquisitor Whitemane. At a young age, Sally Whitemane witnessed her family succumb to the horrific plague of undeath let's try that again. At a young age, Sally Whitemane witnessed her family succumb to the horrific plague of undeath as they were traveling through northern Lordaeron. She was then forced to destroy her parents and siblings when they rose as mindless scourge minions, leaving her racked by guilt and rage. Ever since that day, the fearsome priestess has found fulfillment and pleasure in only one thing: the destruction of the undead. And that is the lore for Scarlet Monastery, so thank you guys so much for joining me on this ride. I know that we basically tiered these up, and I think we're going to have a couple of other instances later on that are going to be grouped up together as well during the week. And of course, I will see you guys next time for the next video.